All right, welcome back to the 18th channeling with Archangel Raphael and Saint Germain. Um, if you're watching these, great. If you're not, I'm learning a lot. I'm grateful. I know these will get somewhere with wherever they're meant to be when they're meant to be. For that, I'm grateful. Um, I love you. I'm grateful you're here. Grateful for everything. We're going to channel here in a moment. Today's topic is the Dark Night of the Soul. It's a topic that I spent 7 years in and out of. Some could say all my entire life, but nonetheless. Yeah, grateful for you. Love you. If you are watching, great. I don't know. I don't know. I'm thankful. Thankful for the family that we're building here and the phone that's going to stay put. There we go. And yeah, there we go. And we'll see what we got. All right. So with that, we're going to channel Archangel Raphael and Saint Germain. Have been looking forward to this. I know I have as well. Just keeps getting better on my end. I hope it is on yours. Leaving you the keys on how to build a universe of love here. That's what they're doing. That's what the purpose is. We're going to put up a purpose video, and there's some changes, little things we'll tweak out here. Always moving forward. Grateful. Love you. Here we go. Please like and subscribe. Grateful. I'm sure the algorithm, little guy, little algorithm. Grateful though. Thank you. Love you. All right. Standard rules apply. Countdown. And readjust the phone here. Yes, we're jinking up. No, we do the best with what we got. There we go. All right. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello, welcome back, Josh. We are glad that you are back to channel with Archangel Raphael and Saint Germain. Today we are going to talk about the Dark Night of the Soul. What is the Dark Night of the Soul? What did Josh say he went through it for 7 years in and out? What happens in the Dark Night of the Soul? And why must one go through it's the work? However you want to put it, it is the work that you must go through in order to get to your light. All of us are attached. Attached what? To a dense trauma body in some form or fashion. If you are attached to your dense trauma body, the fleshy body that's holding all of your traumas, which you are not at all, but you think you are, in order to clear that, to get to your light, you go through the Dark Night of the Soul. Josh will make a video and explain his experience in the Dark Night of the Soul. But I will tell you that it was quite an interesting experience. In some cases, your Dark Night of the Soul experience. Let me digress. What is a Dark Night of the Soul first? In order to discuss the Dark Night of the Soul and going through it, we will give you a surmise of what it is. When one is ready, his window just rattled, but I digress. When one is ready, there will be almost an overcoming of the person. For Josh, he kept playing the Alan Parsons Project, the song Time. Time is flowing through a river to the sea and crying. And this veil was put upon him. When you are going into your Dark Night of the Soul, which is basically the clearing phase before you climb into or go into your light. In order to get into your light, you are required. There's no requirements, but there's really no way around this. To empty yourself of your traumas. To step yourself out of the dense trauma body. To find yourself as you are in source light you must first find yourself as you are in dense trauma body. Trauma. You must work your way through that trauma by feeling the emotions. You see, when you are living your life before you are in the dark night of the soul and walking towards your light, you are taking all of your traumas or these emotional reactions based on how you were programmed when you are 0 through 7. So you're taking all of these programs in, right? Are you understanding so far? And you are reacting to these throughout your life. In order to get into your light, you must see where you are reacting as the dense trauma body. That is what the dark night of the soul is. For a greater or lesser extent, it is you, as the dense trauma body, feeling all the emotions that you never felt. A lot of us will say stuff our emotions or ignore our emotions or put our emotions in our pocket, so to speak. It is okay if you do so. We are not saying that it's going to lead to great results, but eventually, even the dense trauma body can no longer hold on. And you must start breaking these traumas down. Breaking why you are reacting the way you are. If you choose not to, and lots of you choose not to, you just dovish. Beyond all. A lot of you will end up as drug addicted, or drinking lots of alcohol, or being maybe abusive, or angry, or always complaining, or whatnot. But there comes a point, if you have contracted with yourself prior to coming to earth, where you are going to have a breakdown. If you have said, when I come to this earth, part of my contract will be, I want to find my light. I know that I am who I am. I am source. I am in the source right now. As I go to earth, I will forget that I am source. So when I am on earth, I want to be in my light. At some point, I need to get rid of all of what I have been carrying from lifetime to lifetime on the dense trauma body. So for Josh, it was as if a veil had fallen over him. And he kept sitting in his office. He used to work from home for an insurance company. And so he's sitting in his office and he's listening to the Alan Parsons Project play, To the Sea, and he's crying. But he does not know why. These are things that are happening to you, and you may not know why. We are trying to get your attention. Your light inside is trying to climb out. It cannot be seen until you break through your dense trauma body. This is key. You must break through the dense trauma body first, before you can be in your light. There is no way around this. Everybody who has found their light had to go through their darkness first. If you do not go through the darkness, you may get glimpses of your light. You can skip some of this by grounding heavily in gratitude per se, but it will not stick. You may even have an awakening if you push everything to the side and you fall into extreme gratitude. You might wake up one day feeling source love, but all of those traumas will come back at some point. You cannot bypass the clearing phase of your awakening. For Josh, it was as if a veil was put upon him. And in some ways it might have been. His larger self, his larger soul, may have actually placed some darker energies into his field to bring him into this awakening state. It could also be that a lot of his traumas as well were just at this point where they were surfacing and had to be released. There is a point, if you're going to wake up and step out of the matrix, 3D matrix that you are in, and out of your dense trauma body, which technically does not even exist, it's just a swirl of atoms, moving so fast that you can see it as a solid, but you are not. But that is for another video. But when you wake up and you will see that you are your dense trauma, you are not your dense trauma body, and you're realizing, oh my gosh, there's something inside me that is trying to come out. You have to clear the dense trauma body first. How is that done? What happened to Josh? Well, there's a lot that happened. We'll kind of go over this. And this is his experience for him. Your experience can vary, but this is an overview of the dark night of the soul. It took quite a while for Josh to even realize he was in such a predicament. It was the October of before your president Donald Trump was elected. And this veil fell over Josh where he slowly stopped watching television and stopped socializing and just sat. He bought a notebook and started crying often. Could not know why. But ever so slowly, and slowly is definitely the word in Josh's case. But sometimes, slowly means solid. If you have a fast awakening, it may not mean as much as if you are grinding it out on a daily basis alone, crying night after night. So there are journals and journals. Josh has 3 of them, filled. He's not much of a writer, but he does write when need be, and now we write for him. We have automatic write. But again, that will be for another video about automatic writing as well, because you can do that too. But I digress. So Josh began writing these things. The first thing he began writing out his traumas. His mama trauma, so to speak, because a lot of his traumas were dramas that were given to him by his mama. And it's the peeling away of those traumas. Well, you do it on your own. You do not sit with a therapist, per se. Or you can. But we find that with a therapist, you are going to take a narrow focus on one specific item and pick that apart. When you can really spread it out to a larger picture, if you step back and see the grander frame, you can make grander changes because you can see the patterns. And there's no real... It's about doing the work. You hear lots of people say, when you're in the dark night of the soul, you have to do the work. What is the work? Well, the work is whatever works for you to clear your traumas. Whatever you need to do. For Josh's case, he no longer speaks to his mother. His mother was extremely verbally abusive as she never integrated the traumas that were passed on by his grandfather who had liberated Buchenwald. But his grandfather and his grandmother had abused his mom, who passed that abuse down to Josh verbally. So it's all ties together, because there's a channel that states the broken shoes have saved the world. The broken shoes are here. They are the ones who will save the world. And if you know this, then you know the channel. But nonetheless, if you have very abused or broken or saddened, or you have programmed with very broken energies, there may come a point in your journey where you realize something is off kilter. You are not in the right space. You are not who you are supposed to be. Something may be off. Why is my universe not working for me? Why is it that I am in sadness or anger, or I cannot make friends, or whatever it might be in your universe? That is the real question. You might come to that one day. It's the really broken ones, the heavily abused ones, the ones who have been sitting and crying loneliness. There will come a point where you will start to see things in a different way. Where you will go, maybe this isn't the case. Maybe there's something else going on here. For Josh, he ended up with a past life regression session to key it all together as he was abandoned by his mom 7 lifetimes ago. We are not saying that you should do so, but if you find a pattern that you cannot put your feet into as to why am I feeling so abandoned, as Josh would state, even more abandoned than what a divorced parent might do, with a deep sadness, then maybe yes, a past life regression session may be best for you. But we digress. That is not saying you have to do so, not by any stretch. What we are stating is that there will come that point where you will want to sit down and go, why am I feeling this way? I know there has to be a better way. That's kind of what breaks through. That's what broke through for Josh. Josh did not want to feel this way anymore. He said, there has to be a better way. What is going on? Why is he feeling this way? So for Josh, it started with one cry at a time, so to speak, and your journey may be the same. Many of you who are watching this may have already gone through your dark night of the soul. Many of you may be in your dark night, and many of you may be walking into your dark night of the soul. Does not matter. We all have to go through it. The earth is going through it right now. Your planet is going through it. You are right now expunging all your garbage, so to speak. Your homelessness is exploding. Why? Because these things are your traumas. Your dramas as a grander species. These are blowing through as well in your universe. Your wars are ginning up again. And could be quite ginny if you're... This is why we are here, to bring more love to your field. Calm things down. Realize that you are one. Teach you how to build a universe of love, so that we can push more love to the grand source field and send more love in return. That's why we are here. Josh wants a universe full of love. We channel through Josh. You listen, you learn, you become of love. A little more love in the grander universe. That's how it works. It makes it easier for everybody to love. But again, we digress. For your planet right now is learning its own dark night of the soul, so to speak. In order for it to cleanse, to stop fighting, you might have to fight again. But do realize, the same fight that is with you, the same arguments that are in with you are expressing themselves in the grander source field on your planet right now. As you clear your traumas on planet Earth, as each individual person in their universe clears their universe of old programming and baggage and worthlessness and worthlessness and anything that takes them out of the fact that they are the source of their own beautiful universe, that what they create is created and sent to the grand source field to be created in the larger source field as a whole. All of us together are creating that. Once you wake up to realize that, once you begin to see that, then you must clear your traumas to get to that. And that is what truly is the dark night of the soul. Just like on your earth, you're waking up to all the lies, all the deception, all the manipulation that's been going on your planet. It is in conjunction with Josh, and maybe you and everybody else watching who is going through their own dark night of the soul and seeing their own manipulations, their own lies for themselves. They are seeing how they have been manipulated and lied. They are seeing how the programming of their parents was a lie. How they were pushed away from what they've wanted, or they were pushed away from love, or they were programmed that love is garbage, love cannot happen, or they were programmed that you are not worthy of having anything or this or that. Josh was programmed that way. This is why the broken shoes, the ones who push through other garbage programming on their own, because they know there is something else going on. It's what the dark night of the soul is. You push through that. You are doing this. You are going, I am going to take a greater inventory of what the heck is going on inside of me. And as you begin to release what is in the dense trauma body, by working through it and saying, I am no longer in that situation, you begin to find multiple things. And you begin to find your presence. Your presence is your present. Your present is your present for yourself. So when you're sitting quietly, writing down or crying or watching a YouTube video that is helping you to figure out why you make bad decisions, and it's all related to the fact that you are a people pleaser or something, or your parents did not love you, so you're making bad decisions only because you want to please the people in your universe, because pleasing yourself doesn't matter as long as you are seen by the others in your universe, for example. You can watch, I've mentioned Victor and Aaron. I will have Aaron, he's in a playlist for Josh. He is excellent at all of that. We are going to kind of push other teachers out there as well, because Josh does not have to be the teacher of all. We are not going to push everything. Our job is to help you to build your universe. We are going to bring in some of those other teachers who might help you to refine your universe, like Aaron and Victor, for example. Aaron was traumatized as well, and he will tell you in his videos exactly how he uses techniques to step out of that trauma. We recommend you watch. He's in Josh's playlist. But again, we digress. For Josh, he began to write out his traumas. He began to use videos like through Aaron or even Ralph Smart, for example. Or Inspire Nation. There's lots of videos out there, lots of channels. Inspire Nation, Lori Ladd, Feel Good. Does not matter. You choose. Whatever vibrates with you. Josh as well. Grab whom works for you, not who. Multiple teachers. You are blessed. Josh was blessed. It's called the YouTube Awakening. Well, you find the spiritual channels, and you all kind of land on the same channels once you realize you've already spin in the same circle. You'll see. But you find the YouTube channels, and Josh, and Falsilig, and whoever else out there. And you find these people, and they start spinning in your universe, and they start pushing you to release more of your stuff. A lot of times, Josh would pause a video and start crying and writing stuff out. Why? Because that video was an energetic match to release stuff for him. At times now, Josh will see a video, he'll pause it and start writing stuff out. I'm going to do this for the channel. I'm going to do that. Or, yes, even still cry some stuff out. We are never totally cleared. It is when you can clear enough to see that you are the light. Poof. Sometimes you can just put it all away otherwise and realize you are just in presence, and that's all a story, once you get to that point. And you can, but you have to feel the heavier traumas first. You have to go through a lot of work. Meaning feeling the emotions you chose not to feel when you were. Exactly. When you are being traumatized, when you stuffed those emotions, when you said, they still love me. Whatever they said, maybe they're right. Maybe I am a piece of garbage, or whatever. I don't want to say 4-letter words, although they're just words, but we want to keep this clean. So yes, maybe your mother or your father said you are just a piece of garbage, or a piece of P-O-O-P, so to speak. You are not that, but you have to feel that emotion first. You have to release that. Most of us would stuff that. Maybe cry in bed, but stuff it out and go, okay, what did I do to be that piece of P-O-O-P that my mommy is saying that I am? And then we try to people please our way out of that by pleasing our mom. But we are not pleasing our mom, we are displeasing ourselves, and we are stuffing other criticisms and emotions down deeply. So keep these things in mind. It is having to pull those emotions up in the dark night of the soul and feel them and cry it out if need be. Probably a lot of crying it out. Josh pretty much cried every day and still does to some extent, but now it's for different reasons because you feel connected. This is the opposite side, but we state this only because if you are in your dark night of the soul, there is another side to it. The dark night of the soul must always turn into a light day of the soul. So do keep that in mind. Once you go through the darkness, there is always going to be the light. No matter how long it takes you to go through it, hold that in your heart, that there is light on the other side. It does get brighter. It's like peeling an onion. You will release this, and that emotion is gone. So you have this epiphany that, oh, I was doing this, and that's not source love. I was doing this and pushing love away. Are you pushing love away, or are you attracting love? Put that down. Write it on your mirror. Put it on your mirror. Josh has it on his mirror. What are you doing today to attract love or to push love away? But again, we digress. When you feel, you have to feel all of this. So it's going to come up. You're going to write out your trauma. Oh my gosh, I'm so sad. My mother was this, that, or the other. So you cry through it. Maybe you weren't nurtured and you don't know how nurturing feels like. So you cry through that in the wanting of nurturing. There will be a wanting of nurturing as you're crying through that, realizing, oh my gosh, I was never nurtured as a child. That's one of the things that Josh was dealing with. He was never nurtured. So we were channeling through his experiences as well. It's a kind of a three-way deal. We've got Raphael in the background, Saint Germain speaking, but it's using some of Josh as well. Anybody who channels uses a little bit of the channeler as well. It's not just, it's a two-way street to an extent. But again, we digress. So Josh was feeling these emotions. Oh my gosh, he was not nurtured by his mom. His mother did not love him the way he needed nurturing and love. So he learned to people please people to get nurturing back. I will do whatever will please this person. So in his universe, even as a young child, he stopped working on himself and lived his life to please his mother. Why? So that he could win affection from his mother. This is what happens. He had to realize all of this. Now you can go to therapy and tell me about your mother, so to speak, or you can trust the process. Once you fall into that, you'll know you're in a dark night, because you will feel like there's a veil almost been placed upon you. You will know. Josh knew, oh, something is going on, as everything is turned to darkness. So for Josh, everything had turned to darkness. And in this case, he had to break it down. He had to break himself down. He went through a lot of drinking. Why? Well, 2 lifetimes ago, he was an alcoholic. Lots of other things too, but so there was a lot that had to be purged. He no longer drinks because he realizes he doesn't, it ruins his energy field, and it's not an energy, it's just not him. But he had to go through that first. So when you go into your dark night of the soul, there may be things that you grab onto that may not be your best. If you are a drug addict, you may grab onto your drugs for a moment, because the drugs, well, you may have like a final push of those drugs that work through you as you're walking through the traumas that led you to using those drugs. Does that make sense? Or alcohol, same thing. Or if you sleep around, you might sleep around while you are trying to figure out why you're sleeping around. As it starts to fade away, it might actually gin up, explode, and then fade away. Why? Because you are feeling it. I sleep around. So why do I sleep around? And as you feel why you are sleeping around, you're going to ground into the trauma of that, and you're going to react and sleep around. But once you figure out what's caused that trauma, the sleeping around will fade away. Josh no longer drinks. Why? He figured out that it caused trauma. It was trauma from abandonment issues from 2 lifetimes ago. So he does not need that in his field currently. Again, if you went to a party, like I stated before, and there's a champagne toast, it would be rude to not drink the champagne toast, but he is not going to drink to bring in these spirits. Let me keep this in mind, and I want to state this. A lot of what you were in your past lives, although those lives aren't past, they're parallel and going on right now, but in your linear earth, they seem to be past lives. But your past lives will carry into your current. For example, Josh was an extreme alcoholic in his second 2 lifetimes ago, in 1905, when he pulled leather in New York and would buy a bottle of whiskey and sleep at his table, and where he eventually died, at his square table with the hurricane chairs and the light bulb hanging over his, one light bulb and a string hanging over his table. Just keep in mind this was 1905, so yes, 1910, 1915-ish, somewhere around there. So we digress. He was in New York in a tenement building, and he would drink like a fish. He would buy his whiskey, drink his entire pint, or even more of whiskey, and boom. That's why Josh does not drink whiskey. He could never drink whiskey in this lifetime. So the first time he drank an entire 5th of Beefeater gin in 8 minutes. Now, why would he do so? Nobody would generally just down an entire bottle of Beefeater gin in under 10 minutes. Josh did, but why? It was the remnants of his lifetime from 2 lifetimes ago. He was an extreme alcoholic, that carried over, that felt relief when he drank that bottle of beefeater. It was only lucky that he survived. He passed out. The rest is not needed to be discussed, but you can imagine. Lots of scrubbing and cleaning in the morning, but I digress. What we are stating is some of your traumas that you are carrying in your current life may be part of what's going on in your past lives or your current parallel lives. Because even in time, Josh could be in a parallel life pulling his lever just as much as he is sitting here right now, because time does not exist. All time, Earth is really a toroidal field. It is not specifically round. It's an energy field more than anything. So time does not truly exist. But again, we digress. So if you are like Josh, carrying traumas, wondering why you are doing things in your universe now that seem weird or out of character, or maybe the first time you did X drug, you did so much, but you did not, like you are a professional at using that drug. Or first time you did X, whatever it might be, you seem to be a professional. It could even be the first time you roller skated. Maybe you are 5 in your current universe, 10 in your current universe, and you roller skate. Who would have taught you to roller? And you are very good. Maybe you were a professional roller skater in the 70s or something. You disco roller skated. Then you died and came back, and now you have the gift of roller skating. These things do carry through. It is not that uncommon. So keep in mind that your traumas as well will carry through and come out in actions that you release in your current lifetime. So for Josh, he had to release all of that as well. But when you release these things, like his drinking, not to say he was a heavy drinker, but when he did drink, he actually, after he drank that bottle of beefeater, it was a good 20 years before he had another drunken episode, maybe 15 plus, before he had a drunken episode. But what we are saying is, when he drank, which wasn't every day or anything like that, he would always drink and be very drunk, and you could put a 6-pack in front of him and he would finish it. So keep those things in mind. When he went through his dark night of the soul, he had to battle all of that too. So there was maybe 2-3 weeks where he was heavy drinking and then realized, no more. This is part of all of that. And I was battling all of those old energies as well. And now I am worthy. And so I no longer need the alcohol. Not drinks in months. So you put the drink away. These are things you might have to battle as well. So keep that in mind. If you were a bully and part of your current, you find that you are egotistically acting out at people, you might find you do that worse while you walk through the trauma of that, while you're writing on, why am I acting egotistically? What is going on? Why do I act like a jerk to Bob and Fred and Jane at work? You might act like a worse jerk until you figure that out. You'll have a light switch. It'll come on and go, oh, it's because of X. These things just kind of happen. You're reaching into a grander field of yourself at that point. When you're willing to do the work of the dark night of the soul, your Akashic record, your family, the Akashic keepers, we will all step in and give you glimpses of what you need to see. You have to meet us as much as we will meet you. This is the key that people do not understand. How do you do the work? You open up your channel to say, I no longer want to be this. Show me, universe, what is going on. Show me Archangel Raphael. Tapped on Josh's shoulder, showed him a lot. You can ask Archangel Raphael for help. You can step into the violet flame with Saint Germain. There are 2 Archangel Raphael Kelly videos that take you to the cushion of the chair. There's lots of things that you can do. But again, do keep in mind, you'll have to battle those demons as you release those demons. They're going to want to come out. So when you say you are mean to people, and you realize that, and I was mean to Jan at work. Why did I say she was a pain in my side? That is not a nice thing to say. You were just making all this up as an example. What is going on inside me that would cause me to call Jan a pain in my side? These are Dark Night of the Soul questions you would ask. What caused me to react to Jan that way? You begin looking at your universe from an analytical sort of way, where it's where you are going to your universe, what am I doing in myself that is causing this reaction from them? Or what are they doing in themselves that is causing me to react? Eventually, you just go, I am source love, and whatever they choose to do doesn't matter, because I am source love, and this is just a trauma body. It's just a body. It doesn't stick if I choose it not to anyways. But I have understanding. Everybody's in their own space. When you are of your light, nothing sticks. You are love. You love them for whatever they choose to do. But when you are walking through your dark night of the soul, you're going to fight yourself in the change first. You're going to act out in whatever you're looking to change before it has to change. It's kind of in lots of ways you may go through at a grand finale, so to speak, of certain behaviors. Something will come to light, and then you will act upon that. And then you will release what has come to light only after you have worked through it on paper. And we will come through it. Your Akashic records open up to you. Your past lives, your universes, your past experiences. Your field will shift into a healing field that will bring answers. All right, the video got interrupted, so now Josh will have to fuse the video, which does not really mean anything. It's quite easy, actually. But nonetheless, he has to remember to put his phone in airplane mode because his father has frontal lobe dementia. And so his father could call. He calls his father before he channels, of course, but then his father could call back in 5 minutes, not remembering that Josh calls, because he forms 0 new memories whatsoever. But you must have compassion for that and love. It may be a little frustrating for Josh, yes, but he realizes that the frustration lies within him, and it's just an experience to be with more love to his father. So if he lets himself feel that frustration, if he feels it, he realizes his father knows no better, and he drops right out and finds the love. These are all lessons. If you look in your universe, there are lots of little lessons. So where were we? We were talking about how things will gin up in your universe that you are trying to put away in your dark night of the soul. How the Akashic records will open up into your universe when you're in your dark night of the soul to give you glimpses of what you are looking to see, or how you might be fed memories, because you are now in that space in your field where you want to heal. So the right memories might come through to trigger your healing. It's kind of a magical system that we have set up for you. You could go to a therapist, but again, keep in mind, if you go to a therapist for any of this, and yes, there are certain things that we would state you might want to go to a therapist for. If you have been through rape or murder stuff, certain things that may be a little denser than you need to work on your own. Maybe you need hug therapy or something. That's understandable. But do keep this in mind. If you go to a therapist and start from there, you could spend 30 years just picking apart your mother. Step back, let go, trust the process. Get a journal and start writing it out. We will be there with you. We will walk through it with you. We will help you to find what you need in your dark night of the soul to clear all of that for you. But you have to allow the process. You have to walk through the process, and you have to allow yourself to feel the emotions that you have been stuffing inside yourself. The greatest portion of walk through the dark night of the soul is to feel, to allow those emotions to come up that you have been stuffing down. So those emotions will come up. You will feel those emotions, and it is your job then to release them and realize that you are not what has happened to you. You are not when you are in 6th grade and maybe you got beat up or whatever, something, I don't know. Maybe somebody stole your bicycle or something. When you are a child, you are not the stolen bicycle. You are not what happened to you. It is somebody who just somebody in that ego who decided that they're going to do what they do and steal the bicycle. It was nothing against you even, maybe, unless there was some trauma or drama that you two were having. But generally speaking, you cannot control what other people do. But how we react is our trauma. Can be our trauma. How we don't react, or how we stuff those emotions thereof, that could be your trauma. Maybe you stood up at the altar, so now you are jaded for love, and now all love sucks because that's one situation. It's now going to be your job to feel the trauma of being stood up at the altar in order for you to ever feel love again. In order for you to even feel the light of that you are source, you are first going to have to feel the trauma of being stood up at the altar. That is the essence of the dark night of the soul. You might write it out. Well, when I was stood up at the altar, it blank, blank, blankety, blank, blank, blank to me. And then eventually you would write it as, because the to me would even go away because there's no you. So you would say this happened as an energy field, or this happened for me to learn this. And that would eventually occur. There's phases to that. You always have to go through the to me phase first. But then you realize the to me doesn't exist. You are not your dense trauma body. So you can't go through the to me in the dense trauma body per se. So eventually that will fade away, and then you realize this happened for me to learn X. But again, I digress. The dark night of the soul is quite complex. For Josh, it involved many late nights, crying and crying and crying. It also involved turning off the television, the television. There's nothing wrong, like we stated before, watching your South Park if you can discern what you're watching and not pull yourself into it and lose yourself into the programming. If you can keep your self-grounded as I am source love, that's it, nothing more. I'm just a ball of source love energy that fuels the trauma body called Josh. Or whatever your name is, called Bridget, Fred, Bob, Joe, Jan, whatever. If you can realize that you are not the trauma body, you are going to be ahead of the game. When you are going through your dark night of the soul, it is a separation of your light body inside and your trauma body outside. You have to feel out your trauma body to get into your light body. You have to write these things out. The dark night of the soul is necessary. Just like a good business, it must take inventory. It must clear out the dead wood. You must remove old software from its programs, from the computers in a business. If you leave the old software in your computers, in your business will fall behind. It will be behind the times. You need to clear out your old software. You need to look at how was I programmed. That is what a dark night of the soul does. You clear your programming, the traumas that were placed to you from age 0 to 7, or you find a place for those traumas. If you cannot clear them completely, you find a place for those traumas and realize where you are in present now. That is the end result. That you are in present, you know that you are source love, and from there that you are infinitely available to do anything you choose to do. You are infinitely free because you are light. You can get there. But you have to do the work. You can't fall into your dark night of the soul and go, I don't want to deal with any of this, and push it away. It'll haunt you for the rest of your life. Those of you who fall into a darker night of your soul, listen to this. When you fall into that dark night of the soul, you are being given a gift because the universe is stating to you, we see greater in you. You see greater in you. You are looking for the greater inside yourself. Do not turn that away, or you will be haunted for your days. You will never be at peace. This is your body and your soul. This is your soul, your light, your universe. The who that you are, the grand source love that fills you, that you are, that fuels the body that you are walking around in. Wanting to be free, wanting to show itself, realizing that it's buried through its trauma or this trauma. Once it starts knocking, it'll never stop knocking on your door. You can ignore. It's just like channeling for Josh. If Josh does not channel, we will. Saint Germain will definitely let him know, hey, are you dropping the ball here? This is a gift and you cannot drop this ball. If you choose to drop the ball, that is on you, but you will be breaking your dharma. Same thing kind of goes with your dark night of the soul. Once it comes in, it is up to you what you choose to do, but if you choose to drop the ball and not participate in your own dark night of the soul, you will reap the rewards that you did not want. What rewards would you reap that you did not want? You will be in constant drama and trauma with yourself. You will be fighting yourself and always feeling out of space. You will not integrate yourself. You will not know what integration even feels like because you aren't integrated currently. That is for another part of the dark night of the soul, integration, where you begin to integrate your past, your current, all the traumas, to realize that you are just a light. Right now we are just wanting you to understand that these things are going to come up, and that when they do, you cannot run away from them. Or when you start to realize, oof, I do X. Well, you might do X a little bit more until you completely clear X as your trauma, whatever that is. Let's say you like to gamble. That's a good one. So you realize, oh, why do I gamble so much? Why you are arguing with yourself, or not even arguing, why you are working with yourself and your Akashic records while we are giving you downloads. You might actually get the urge to go gamble even more. Why? Because it's trying to climb back. Hey, it's comfortable. Gambling is who I am. I want to gamble. Gambling makes me feel good. Why are you fighting with gambling? Gambling is part of who I am. I'm going to prove that, and I'm going to gamble even more. And you might for 2 or 3 weeks gamble your heart till your heart blows up, so to speak. Gamble till you can gamble no more. But what will happen is through that, as you start to go towards the end, you will go, why am I going gambling? This is no longer right. Because you are doing the work. You are writing out, I gambled because I fear not having enough money. Or my life is boring, so I live on the thrill that gambling gives me, for example. Or I don't want to work, so I'm going to gamble in hopes to make money for X, Y, or Z. There are many things you can do. That is truly up to you. When you go gambling, the reasons are infinitesimal as to why. It could be your parents were poor, and you think that I'm not going to be poor, so I'm going to go gamble so I don't end up poor. But you may end up poor anyways. Most people who gamble end up poor, or at least end up poorer than when they walked in. Not everybody does not even have to worry about gambling, though. So if you go gamble once and you had your fun and you walk away, good for you. But we are talking about those who, when you're doing through your dark night of the soul, realize that my gambling may be more than an issue. It may be a problem. Once you realize that, a problem is going to get louder before it gets quieter. Do keep these things in mind. But if you do the work to write down, why do I gamble? This is how you work through your dark night of the soul. Why do I gamble? Universe, why do I gamble? Help me to see why I gamble. And then maybe you write down a list of, okay, so is gambling good or bad for me? You start breaking these things down. No, gambling is good for me in this way. Gets me out of the house, blah, blah, blah. Gambling is bad for me. Why? Because I'm spending my money. I am habitually lying to somebody about where I'm going, whatever it might be. You may be lying about that fact you're even going gambling. Or you may have to hide the fact that you are losing money. Whatever it is. These are the things you would begin to write out. And then as you are doing so, you may have an epiphany like, oh, this is the real reason why I'm gambling. This is it. And it'll just come through. You don't know how these things work. They just show up. We do because we are helping to fill your field with those things. We are dehydrating Josh, but yet he has no beverage. Ha, ha, ha. He will survive. But from our end, these are things that you are going to go through. Maybe in your dark night of the soul, you look at your last relationship and why you yelled so much. You might start to cry and realize, oh my gosh, I was so mean. I was so terrible. And then you may start to cry through it and then feel worse. These are things that may happen. We're only going through right now the first basic phases of your dark night of the soul, so to speak. And everybody's dark night of the soul is different. There are people who can get through it without a lot of crying and whatnot. They just realize this is not who they want to be anymore, step into their source love. But even at that, you must at least recognize the traumas and the dramas first and realize, I don't want to be those anymore. So what a lot may happen is, as these traumas pop up, it is just as simple to say, I don't want to be this anymore. Why and release it that way. Some of these, like for Josh, he had to realize his core trauma was being abandoned. And so, and the sadness, of course, which he had no idea he was even carrying from his grandfather liberating Buchenwald concentration camp. So once you realize these things, you don't have to do much else but to go, I don't want to carry that anymore. And when you start to feel that, you can go, oh, this might be attached to that. I don't want that anymore. I am in my present, and you can release it in that way as well. But it is going to require that you recognize when you fall out of present, if you can get there then. But you may not be able to get there because the traumas are there first. That's why you have to walk through those traumas in your dark night of the soul. Dark night of the soul is definitely going to continue tomorrow, when we will continue on working through your traumas and finding your light in the lonely, empty space of your dark night of the soul. Josh definitely knows about the lonely, empty space. He went through 7 years. Well, limited personal contact with anybody. It is the stronger ones who within the dark night of the soul find the deepest light, the brightest light. Anybody going through the dark night of the soul, there's no way to stop it, and there is no way to walk out of it. You can abandon the project, so to speak, but you will be haunted by all of your past failures, all of everything that is in your dark night of the soul universe nonetheless. Once that veil falls upon you, the only way to truly get out of that darkness is to find your light. You are making you are making an agreement with your universe that I'm going to go through all this darkness to slide on the back end into my light, to clear it all and walk out as light, as the light being that I am, knowing that I am not the dense trauma body, but I am source love on planet Earth, as you are and as we all are, reaching out and pushing all that up into the grand source field. Now granted, when you're going through the dark night of the soul, you're pushing your traumas up. But the grand source field knows that you are working through that because it's your intention to work through that. Now, your intention is to stay grounded in your dark night of the soul. More for you. Lots of people get wrapped up in those traumas and really have issues getting out of your dark night of the soul. If you find that, that's where Raphael may come along, as he did for Josh, and say enough is enough and tap him on the shoulder. You also, and we will get into this tomorrow, have a living universe that you must speak out to. You have angels like Archangel Raphael. You have Saint Germain and the Violet Flame. You have your guardian angel. In Josh's case, his name is Ron. They will give you their name if you ask. You are going to have to learn how to reach out to them as well. You are not alone in this, and you have grand help. If you choose to do this on your own, it'll be longer and much more painful. And those who are spinning around in your universe as well, maybe your spouse or your children, may not even understand what you are going through, and you might have to even stand up and perform like a regular person in between. Josh had the luxury of living alone, so he could cry at any time and scream out to his universe and pound pillows and whatnot. You may not have that luxury, or you may have a wife who understands, or a spouse or a husband who understands. Again, you may not, and then you have to deal with this in a whole different manner. We will get into that as well. Dark night of the soul is no joke, and if you do not go through it, you will not find your light. You will not find that you are totally sourced, and you cannot truly 100% connect without clearing your dramas first and releasing your dense trauma body first into your dark night of the soul to become your light. Let's think that's a good spot to leave it. Tomorrow, in the next channeling with Josh, we'll channel tomorrow night after work, will be more of your dark night of the soul. And yes, this was interrupted, so if you see a little split in your video there, it'll fuse together quite well, because it's a good program. But nonetheless, if you see that, do realize that, yes, his father had called. And so we do apologize, and it was not in airplane mode. So that is his fault for not placing it in airplane mode. But again, we digress. We are Archangel Raphael and Saint Germain, and we have channeled. We love you. Love yourself. If you're in your dark night of the soul, give yourself a break. If you find that you're acting out, say you are hypersexual and you're acting out in a hypersexual manner, do realize that it's trying to hold on to you. That trauma is trying to hold on to you. You are trying in some fashion to hold on to that trauma, but you know that it must be released. We will talk about more of this tomorrow. The dark night of the soul could go on for hours, as it may, but we definitely digress. We love you. Love yourself. If you are in your dark night of the soul, give yourself a break. If there's something where you need to cry it out, cry it out. Reach out. Call on Archangel Raphael. Call on Saint Germain. Watch Archangel Raphael Kelly and her videos. Go to the cushion or the chair and sit in the violet flame. As Saint Germain is here to help you to get into the violet flame, to release the blocks so you can clear yourself and find your love. That's why we do this. We are here for you, to release those blocks, to get you into the violet flame, to spin it around you, to wrap it around you, to bring it in through your soul, so that when you close your eyes, you see the purple and violet light, so that you are clearing your field. Sometimes you need a push. Maybe you have a good friend. Reach out. But do know you are not alone in going through this. There are millions of people who are going through this right now. It does get better. We will discuss all of this again tomorrow. Have a beautiful night. Realize you are source love. Everything you say, speak, and do will create your universe. We love you. We hope you love yourself. Releasing transmission. Oof.